So when Singaporean Defense Minister Mr. Lee Hsien Loong says that United States has changed from liberator to great disruptor to a landlord seeking rent. This is the quotation I made from the recent parliamentarian speech. And the geopolitical experts know that Lee Hsien Loong is actually very balanced person who actually does uh, weigh the diplomatic ties with the US as well as China. So he's handling a lot of leverage and balancing those, right? Now, the question comes, right, when this kind of political leader from very influential sphere tells about US, you can understand the image of US that has become globally, right? So, so what has actually this entire Greenland uh, uh, crisis has been telling us, right? This is what uh, is a very burning topic right now, and I will just declutter something on that. I will cover this with like what is this crisis all about, how Greenland is governed by Denmark. What is this Rubio? Mark Rubio will be meeting around 12th to 18th January week, right, in Denmark, and probably I will tell you who are the participant for this meeting, what is the agenda of the meeting, and why actually US or Trump uh, mm, wants to buy Greenland or wants to conquer or acquire Greenland, right? That's what is the reason, right? And how what are the different strategies they are taking, and how Greenland or Denmark can defend that those strategy, and what is the possible outcomes. I will discuss everything on this podcast, and this again, I am using my thought process, my point of view, with an addition from intelligence data as well as geopolitical data from media and reports, right? So, why when Rubio is meeting obviously on 12 to 18 Jan week in Denmark, and who are the people he is meeting from Denmark? He's meeting the Danish Prime Minister, met uh, Frederiksen, who is the head of Denmark's government. He's meeting Denmark Foreign Minister Lars Loke Rasmussen, and also Greenland government representative, which is also who is also called Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen, right? And because Greenland has said recently that no talks between Denmark and US will be fulfilled by not inviting the Greenland representative. So he will be there in the in the meeting to confirm that there is no NATO official US going to or Mark Rubio going to meet in this entire agenda. And now, now question might comes like what is that? Who controls Greenland, and what is this story about? Now, many of us who actually are not aware of this global situation. So Denmark actually, so it's a kingdom of. I will say Greenland is currently under the sovereignty of Denmark. So it's under the kingdom of Denmark. Greenland is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark, not an independent country. So it is slightly more than our states, Indian states like West Bengal, Maharashtra. Is more than that, but at least it's not a country. Greenland is not a country. Um, Denmark colonized Greenland in 18th century and later incorporated as a part of Danish Realm, formally in 1953. Now, what they rule, right? Self-rule, but not full independence. They actually uh, they have a very independent rule, but they are not actually sovereign in that sense, right? They are not independent. Greenland has its own parliament and runs most domestic affairs, but Denmark retains key powers like foreign policy, defense, and monetary policy. Uh, Greenlanders hold Danish citizenship, and Danish plus law courts form the overarching legal framework. So anybody in Denmark can go to the sorry, anybody in the Greenland can go to the Denmark court. So Denmark court Supreme Court of Denmark is actually the final judiciary apex body for the Greenlanders, right? So, and in the international forum like in United Nations Security Councils and other Greenland representative doesn't go. Instead, Denmark represent Greenland globally, right? That's what is all about. So Greenland control local resource, but Denmark controls sovereignty. That's what is all about. But to be honest, in a recent survey within Greenland, they have asked that whether they want to be independent, fully independent from Denmark, or they want to have the current situation, like the sovereignty is with Denmark and the freedom is with Greenland. So around 18% of them said the Greenlanders said that they want to be like same like currently a status quo. They want to be part of Denmark in a current status, and around 80%, almost 80% said that they want independence from Denmark. They want to be a country. So that's what the Greenlanders view. There's also another poll that has happened, which is a binary poll they're calling, and they have asked in that poll that to all the Greenlanders that whether you want to be with Greenland or you want to be with US. So no independence. So either you want to be with Greenland or you want to be with US. So around 85% prefer to remain with Denmark, and 6% would rather be part of US. Right. So that's what the poll shows. So Greenland, obviously, the first priority is freedom from Denmark. If not, they want to be part of Denmark rather than to be part of US. Now, why US wants Greenland, right? Either buying or any kind of military operation. Why US wants Greenland? So there's Arctic military and space dominance. That's number one reason. Like they have a P2 Thule is a vital missile, early missile warning. So Arctic is a region where any kind of ballistic missile or any kind of missile that US, that Russia or China will try to attack US or any European country. So US is actually keeping that radar and also enhance that radar in Arctic region, and that will have the benefit of early warning system. So installing a, high-end radar in Arctic Circle will provide US the early advantage of understanding or maybe preempting any kind of missile warning, right? So that's the reason, and they have a P2 and Thule as a vital missile warning system as well as military base. They also have as a Arctic Sea. So whenever Arctic Sea melts, right, it has the new sealants. It gives rise to new sealants, and those are the checkpoints which are very vulnerable for US. And US want to get those checkpoints because there are a lot of Chinese and Russian ships that goes through those ship lanes when the Arctic melts, and they want to have that control on those seaplanes. So, right, military ships, right. The second component is blocking Russia and China, prevent Russian military encroachment and Chinese economic take footholds in Greenland mining and infrastructure, which is another reason why US wants Greenland. Third is obviously rare earths and resources. Greenland has a potential huge amount of almost 6 to 7% of rare earth, uranium, and other mineral deposits in the world. So it has a significant amount of mineral earths. And political symbolism, I will not go into that because that's the ego of Trump. That I want to show that still we are the unipolar power of the world. We create the world order, rule-based world order. Trump is creating the rule-based order, right? So no other polar worlds are doing that. So that's what the US is obsessed about Greenland. What Rubio will discuss. The next part is what Rubio will discuss with the Denmark and Greenland. So first, they will give the U.S. offer, right? As like whatever the U.S. offer they're getting as a buying component. Right? They want to buy Greenland from Denmark. That's the first option. Like they will try to have a strategic Arctic value, missile warning, space operation via Pituffik and Thule base. And they also will raise concern about the Russian and Chinese influence in the Arctic and a floating economic package, infrastructure, rare earth mineral investment, and long-term financial guarantees for Greenland budget. So they want to talk with Denmark and Greenland, and they want to say that, look, I will provide you all the economic package and security guarantees against Russia and China. Uh, so give all those. I want to buy Greenland. That's what on the table, right? Otherwise, this is one first option you will provide. Then there will be some kind of handling of military options. You also will, in reading between the lines, what I understood from the intelligence domain, that he will also somehow provide a verbal warning that if you don't sell Greenland, then we US will follow what they have done in Venezuela. So that's another, and he will give that example, right? That's what he will tell. Third is the NATO alliance damage control. So there has been a lot of problem after this posturing of US, and US understand there's a lot of NATO countries like France, Italy, and Canada, and all those countries are actually voicing their concern against US, and what US wants is to do a damage control. That is also part of that meeting, that they want to provide assurance to Greenland and Denmark, and they also create that posture that, look, we are still with NATO, and we don't want to break that alliance, right? That's also a public kind of reaffirmation they want to have. Now, what role Greenland itself will have, right? Greenland foreign minister insists that Greenland must be in the table in a discussion. So there will be prime minister of Greenland who will be there, and expect Rubio to meet Greenland representative to pitch economic benefits of closer US alignment. So they want to tell, Rubio want to tell, look, the benefit of Greenland is with US and not with Denmark. So they want to break that alliance between, or break that sovereignty versus freedom alliance between US, between Denmark and uh, Greenland. So obviously they will meet Greenland, but they will also meet Greenland and tell that, look, it is benefited, like, it's a win-win situation for both US and Greenland. So Greenland can be the 51st or 52nd state, right? 51st state. If you want Canada, then it will become 52nd. So you will again oppose the legs. Greenland will be a state of US. So that's another possibility what Rubio will tell to the Greenland Prime Minister, right? Uh, so what else Rubio will discuss? Practical military base issues like Pitufik space base operation, which was signed dated back 1951, and Denmark recently approved expanded US access, but retains the right to revoke it if the US attempts annexation, right? So if US try to annex Greenland, those uh, uh, understanding or move will be revoked. Those understanding will be revoked. So that's where the entire discussion will happen. What options US have? If we discuss that, fine. These are the things. What are the different option US have, or from the perspective of economic, geopolitical? The first option they will put is a purchase or negotiated transfer, right? That's the most possible way. It's like Trump first floated. So actually, this started in 2019 when Trump was in the first term. End of the first term, right? When he was ending the first term, and Trump first floated this buying Greenland in 2019 and was firmly rejected by Denmark that time. Now today, Danish and Greenlandic governments again strongly oppose any transfer of sovereignty. So negotiated transfer is one option, but that's again a problem that US might face. What are the different consensual sale of Greenland to the US faces, right? So Danish refusal, Greenlander public opposition. Obviously, you saw in the poll that almost 80%, more than 80% actually voted against that, against US alignment. The European outrage, that's a huge, like, all the European countries will this as a very expansionist approach of US, like Singapore defense minister has suggested, and obviously there is a possibility of NATO being broken, right? So that's another way US will face the backlash. Now, force annexation, option B, force annexation military seizure. Um, yeah, those that's a very difficult scenario where they will try to force Greenland into their territory, and make it 51st second state of US. It will be amount to aggression, right? Invading a country, it will amount. It's not like Venezuela situation, right? They have to invade the entire country. So that's the military option is obviously a problem. Maybe the posturing and signaling they will do in the media, in the press, that if economic package is not suitable, if the sale is not happening, then we will try to do via military invasion. So Mark Rubio is also saying that military option is not out of the table, right? So that's where the signaling is coming, and obviously that will be a catastrophe for US because the NATO will be broken. There will be a lot of problem across the globe. Entire Europe will be thinking that better align with Russia because Russia doesn't have not given such a signal, except that Russia thinks that the NATO should not come to their backyard, right? So that's the problem Russia have when NATO naval ships entered Black Sea, and also when Ukraine gave some of its land for US base, NATO base, and the Ukrainian president was going for NATO membership. So that's the problem. But Europe will think that we are better aligned with Russia than with US. So US is trying to, uh, Trump is trying to take US to the front. What any kind of expansionist regime like the Hitler in Germany, Mussolini in Italy, or Mao, not Mao, I will say, Jinping in this century. We have seen this kind of thing, right? So that's what probably will happen, and obviously NATO will be broken. That's what, and I don't believe in this theory, but there is a possibility. Yeah. Uh, so what option US have we have discussed, and possible US game plan? What should be the US game plan? uh, and how uh, uh, the Greenland or Denmark plus Greenland can defend themselves, right? The possible US game plan on Greenland will be maximalist rhetoric, like they will try to create rhetorics that we will try to buy Greenland, we will have all those levers, we will try to annex Greenland. So there will be a lot of rhetoric, right? Then there can be a negotiated expansion of US base in the radar rights under the existing defense framework. So they will try to expand their military base within Greenland, Arctic region. They will try to give economic carrots, right? Infrastructure grants, airports, ports, telecom, investment in local jobs via US defense and mining contracts. So this is what they do everywhere. Political outreach to Greenlandic parties who favor more autonomy or independence, hoping to pivot them towards pro-US stance in the longer run. Um, so this is also a possibility. These are the strategies that US will take, and obviously information narrative framing US control as protecting Greenland from Russian and Chinese threats and providing more prosperity than Denmark. So they will try to break that alliance. So they will try to bribe or try to do a lobby with the pro or anti-Denmark political leaders or anti-Denmark outfits who will try to come out of the from the alignment of Denmark and wants more comfortable to align with US. Not under US sovereignty, but they can also say that Greenland will be a. They can go for supporting Greenland as a separate country, and they will say that if I tell you that you will have freedom from Denmark, uh, would you align to US from the defense, military and economic perspective, so that I will provide you security guarantee, I will provide you the freedom from Denmark, but you have to give me all the economic assets, you have to give me the resource, I will control the resource, I will control your military bases and all those things that will be on the table with Greenland when Mark Rubio separately discussed with the Greenland prime minister, right? So he will try to create that anti Denmark narrative and provide him with option like US will support Greenland sovereignty and US will support freedom from Denmark, and instead they have to be like 51st state of US informally, and that's how the entire game will be played by US. Uh, and I guess that this is will that will what will happen, because they cannot take uh, the option like selling. If Denmark is not willing to sell Greenland, uh, US cannot do anything, right? Uh, uh, and obviously, Europe and NATO will be against that. If US try to impose sanction or annex militarily, then will be another problem, disaster for US. NATO will be broken. So that is again a problem. Canada, UK, and all those countries will also protest against US. So the best option, I feel, that while meeting Greenlander Prime Minister, Mark Rubio will offer him that I will give you a freedom from Denmark, so you will be a sovereign state or sovereign country, but you have to give us. There should be a lot of economic uh, um, uh, understanding or economic agreement that will be signed between US and Greenland. There will be military agreement that will sign between US and Greenland, and obviously resource sharing, right? So this is what I feel that majority can happen. Denmark will not give Greenland. This is what I think majority can happen. And how Denmark and Greenland together can defend, right, the entire US threat. One is the security posture, US access to good behavior. So these two countries will go to United Nations Security Council, which is again a defunct body, but still there can be some degree of narrative. The second, these two countries can give go to NATO, right? These also US cannot attack a NATO country, right? That's a red line for them. So though Greenland is not a NATO country, obviously Denmark is a NATO country. So attacking Greenland amounts to attacking Denmark, right? So that's a problem. And obviously, talking to the larger NATO group will pressurize US not to do anything. That's one of the thing. Diversify security partnership. They can, both Greenland and Denmark can diversify the security partnership, increase visibility cooperation with other NATO allies like Canada, Norway, UK. So security of Greenland isn't seen as purely US Denmark bilaterally. So Denmark can change the posture. Right now, the NATO countries and world sees that okay, still Greenland is actually under Denmark, and if Denmark and Greenland together can tell to the other NATO alliance that, okay, let's have a security pact between few of the countries like Norway, it can be France, Italy, UK, so that we want to have a very small group where we can also, you can also come to Greenland and get these resources, or we can have an economic binding together, so that the NATO countries actually fight for Greenland and Denmark. So NATO countries should not think like last almost 100 years, 200 years, Denmark is taking advantage of Greenland. So this is another type of posturing that Denmark can do, which I call diversify of security partnership with other countries, NATO countries. Then economic, reduce vulnerability to US economic leverage, use UE and Nordic funds to finance critical Greenland infrastructure, invite multiple partners like EU, European Union, Japan, South Korea, India into mining and ports, so no single country can dominate. So that's another option they can take. So these are the strategy with which, in my view, that Denmark and Greenland can defend from US, right? Now, I will tell you three scenarios that will happen. Best case scenario, where Arctic stabilization and manage tension, where US and Denmark de-escalate. That's one. There's a negotiated compromise between Denmark and US with certain degree of agreement signed for extension of military bases and extension of economic framework. So that's another thing that can. Joint Arctic domain awareness, expanded search and rescue, weather, ice monitoring, those kind of things they can take. And obviously phase C. Phase C, I can call it as a NATO reassurance, and which US can tell NATO countries, see, we are okay with this kind of relationship where it's more aligned to our negotiated compromise instead of slightly expansionist. And this way, NATO will be assured or reassured with the posturing, and obviously, Netherlands and Greenland will also compromise on certain aspects. So there might be some win-win situation. So this is the best case scenario. If you want to de-escalate that entire thing, right? This is one probability which I feel this can happen. So there will be a negotiated compromise between US and Denmark. So that's what the option number one I feel majority of the maximum probability of happening. A messy middle coercive bargaining and gray zone operation. I don't think so this will happen, but still I have put this option where phase one political pressure campaign will happen. What I was trying to tell that they will try to create political pressure in Denmark. They will try to align with the anti-Denmark political parties in Greenland and try to create a separatist movement so that Greenland will be a free country and then align with the US. That's phase A, and phase B, an intelligence and information operation. Leaks claim different kind of leaks claim Denmark is failing to invest in Arctic. Opinion pieces in U.S. press like Greenland deserves Washington, not Copenhagen, and those kind of message will come in the global narrative, right? When U.S. media manages the global narrative, so they will try to create those narratives. There's a US official who has hinted that if Denmark blocks investment, Greenland could reevaluate status, right? That's one Denmark politician or US official hinted at that. Phase C, NATO friction. European condemns US tone, US dismisses European weakness, NATO discussion become tensed and defensive, quite legal preparation. So this is a middle path where there will be a lot of um, mudslinging that is happening in this entire exercise. I don't think so it will happen, but still I have kept that option, middle path option, but which will be messy. It's not very stabilized, or it will be very calm, but it will be messy. And this option, worst case analysis I have done where alliance shattering and Arctic showdown. So there is a military operation which will happen. Phase A will be unilateral. US moves. US declare it will expand aircraft and missile defense deployment at Pitufik, station naval and military assets nearby without Danish approval. So these will be done without Danish approval. Denmark protest. US claims strategic imperative versus China, Russia. They will say that I want this is to defend US. So they are saying that invading Venezuela, doing a gray zone operation in Venezuela is to defend US, because between Venezuela and US, the distance is small, and if there's a forward base of China and Russia, they are threatened, right? US is threatened. Same logic they will apply here in the Arctic region. So that's phase A. Phase B, US courts Greenland over Denmark's head. Washington offers direct transfer payment to Greenland government, security guarantees. Greenland split internally. Pro-independence party consider referendum on loosening ties to Denmark. So that's why I was talking that this is one such probability that where US will promote separatist movement within Denmark and create a referendum in Greenland, and create a referendum in Greenland. And obviously they know that public opinion is not against US, but public opinion is favoring independent Greenland. So they will try to create a referendum that US will support independent US will support an independent Greenland, but after forming an independent Greenland, they will align to US geopolitically, right? So that's what US will do in phase B, and phase C is a legal military crisis. If Denmark revokes defense approvals, US refuse to withdraw forces. European Union and Canada condemn Washington. NATO is paralyzed, so NATO will unable to do anything. So NATO is obviously again a defunct organization without US. So they can condemn, but they will not go against US. It will take 10 years of investment in NATO, like non US countries. They have not invested for last 20 years, in fact last 30 years, in their military preparedness, right? So, they were mostly dependent on the security guarantees from US, and now US is taking the advantage right now, and it will take 30 years to build those military preparedness by all the countries, like combined all the countries, and obviously the security guarantees need to be reevaluated. So I don't think so. that NATO will survive if there is a US invasion or is a US military operation. But NATO, obviously, again, I don't know. There's a possibility NATO will say, let's hand over Greenland to US. That's another alternative. That's another option can be evaluated, right? So in summary, three possibility with the descending order of probability. The first being a more negotiated uh, mm, and negotiated and um, I will say the best case scenario I discussed about more of a negotiated compromise both by Denmark and US. So they slightly come to the compromising table, and maybe Greenland is not directly sold uh, for the people. But there will be a lot of leverage of US within Greenland, as if that Greenland is jointly owned by Denmark and US. So those are. I mean, that is the major probability. I mean, the highest probability will see that. According to me, my assessment that is the highest probability, and obviously there will be a lot of economic and military agreement that will be signed between Denmark and US. And under the table, there will be a lot of undercurrent within Greenland, both politically and economically. The resource will be sucked or taken by both Denmark and US. So that's the most probable scenario. The second probable scenario is that US directly talks to Greenland, bypassing Denmark, try to create um, try to create a leverage and pressurize Denmark and pressurize NATO, other countries, mostly the European Union countries, right? And other European Union countries back down. They tell Denmark that let US also take certain degree of leverage, and they will back US, uh, and they will try to explain Denmark that sovereignty can be with Denmark, but the military and economic leverage US can also take because we have a larger threat like China and Russia. So NATO will not be broken. Uh, so the first option, there is a compromise between Denmark and US. The second option, there is a compromise between Denmark, US, and NATO. So the NATO will not be broken because NATO countries understand that if they are broken, because currently their security guarantee is almost zero, because they don't have military preparedness. It will take another 30 years to build those military preparedness where they can say that we don't want US right now, we are separate military alliance. So that is not possible. So that option to whatever probability I said, that is another option or that can happen scenario. And final scenario which has some degree of probability, uh, and it also might be my candidate for future scenario, like where US fund the anti-Denmark political parties. They force to do a referendum for a independent Greenland, and then they will tell that if we go to the United Nations Security Council and support your independence, like the sovereignty of separate sovereignty of Greenland, just realigning from the Denmark, uh, can you give us all your economic leverage and the military leverage? So that is another option, but the probability is slightly less. Which probability will not happen? Absolutely not happen. That US will attack Denmark, or US will attack Greenland, and uh, through militarily they will take control of Greenland. So that probability is almost zero, but still I have kept that probability. But I feel that first these three options will be uh, the highest possibility with the degree of probability I told, right? Three options. Uh, so I believe that uh, to summarize this entire thing, I believe that under Trump, the expansionist regime is being seen. I don't see that bipartisan politics being played in US, because all the Democrats are silent on all issues. This is more of a dictatorship under the pretext of democracy, right? I don't agree right now. Whatever US posturing they're showing is like a dictatorship, like in Germany, whatever we have seen in during World War, during 40s, 30s, right? So I guess this entire image of US has been shattered. The soft power has been shattered. They are trying to create a unipolar world in a multipolar domain. Geopolitically, it is slightly suicidal, and my concern is that the Democrats are just silent. We don't see any Democrats speaking against this entire expansionist component. Some here and there, some people are speaking, and we see that those people are being framed by different law enforcement bodies. So I guess the democracy in US seems to be not bipartisan right now. It's like a single party, and no one from the Republicans also trying to highlight the expansionist model of Trump with his ego. Here I will end. I will look out for any kind of comments or any kind of view in my mailbox. I have seen that many people have commented on my previous video. I will try to respond when I get time. Thanks for watching. Good night.